Guys, today we'll be talking about how the Cavaliers have announced that they do want to retain Collin Sexton and a bunch of other Cavaliers free agency upkeeping and housekeeping, whatever you want to call it. Let's talk about There's a bunch of news that has been released about the Cleveland Cavaliers' intentions this offseason, and I think a bunch of you would be very much interested. Shout out Mike Scotto of HoopsHype for this information. And let's get right into it because you know what? I know you Cavs fans love Collin Sexton, and there's also rumors of Ricky Rubio wanting to come back. So the Cavaliers have told Mike Scotto that they want to bring back Collin Sexton. Specifically, first off, there are some teams that are interested in the New York Knicks and the Washington Wizards who would want to acquire Sexton in a sign and trade if they want to get him. Though last season, no restricted free agents signed an offer sheet. Players such as the Cavaliers forward Lauri Markkanen switched teams via sign and trade. So if Collin Sexton were to get moved, it seems like it's going to be via sign and trade. Now, one executive told Mike Scotto that Cleveland will extend a qualifying offer to Sexton and look to match any offer. And I don't see him receiving an offer from another team unless it's via sign and trade, is what it's being told. But Cleveland could use Sexton as a trade asset, and they have sort of acknowledged that. But it is expected that they try to sign him to a very similar deal to Bogdanovich, which is $18 to $20 million range. And the sources are saying as well to Chris Fedor that the two sides were kicking around a Bogdanovich number 18 million. And the Cavs obviously are trying to shoot between 15 to 18 million dollars, while the Collin Sexton team, his agent and Collin Sexton himself are thinking about 18 to 22 million. And this is annually. So between 15 to 22 million dollars annually is what they're talking with the Collin Sexton. Though one team that the Cavs are internally worried about, but not necessarily what they're entirely worried about, is the Detroit Pistons. Pistons are looking at Jalen Brunson, Collin Sexton, Zach LaVine, all the guys who are in play to get themselves a guard, because they're not 100% sold on Kelly and Hayes, and they believe they need to get a guard next to Kate Cunningham. And Jalen Brunson is the guy that they really want to get, or Zach LaVine, but they don't see themselves in the running for Zach LaVine as much as Jalen Brunson. And it seems that if they can't get either of those guys, Collin Sexton could be their consolidation prize. Now, the reason why they want this, they want to get some kind of lethal scorer next to Kate Cunningham to take some of the off-ball handling responsibilities and pressure off of him as a scorer. And the sources tell Mike Scotto that the Cavs do not believe there's a team out there that's going to give Collins a contract north of $20 million. So they're not necessarily afraid. Now, Karis LeVert will get $20.5 million annually per season on an extension. And yes, that might seem a little too rich for you if you're a Cavs fan, but Cleveland believes that they'll pay him that. People believe that Cleveland will pay him that to extend him. And it's interesting, due to the injury history, a short-term extension around that number is a good value. He's making $19 million. So maybe it is only a 1 to 2 to 3 year deal. So we'll see. But there are some trade candidates that are moving around. So Kevin Love is expected to be traded, and they're looking at both Bojan Bogdanovich and Bogdan Bogdanovich, Gordon Hayward, Harrison Barnes, Tobias Harris, Gary Trent Jr., Jeremy Grant, Aaron Gordon, as all guys that are possibly there. But the one that at the beginning of the postseason, when the season ended, they initially thought they could get, but as the postseason has gone on, it has seemed like there is less and less of a possibility of them getting him, was Andrew Wiggins. They very much wanted to trade Kevin Love for Andrew Wiggins. It seemed like a match made in heaven. Kevin Love could be the big man for the Warriors, perfect guy, reminiscent of David Lee, if you want to say, but that's not going to happen. Andrew Wiggins is a star, all-star. He's been reborn. Now, Mike Scotto says that his sources tell him there's mutual interest between Ricky Rubio and the Cavaliers for a reunion. In fact, some people are essentially penciling him in already to be added back into the roster. Yes, it's complicated because even though he's a great fit, there's some variables. How good or effective will he be coming off a second torn ACL? And you're not going to get him back until the earliest November or December, more likely midway through the season. And that's why there have been rumors that they are interested in Mike Conley. JB Bickerstaff would love to coach him again, and if Utah does decide to move him, there are ideas that they could trade Karis LeVert for Mike Conley to shake things up. Now, the other name is in free agency is Tyus Jones for a backup. If Ricky Rubio seems to be the backup option if they can't get Tyus Jones or a DeLon Wright, Kyle Anderson, or Goran Dragic. Actually, I'd rather take Ricky Rubio over Goran Dragic. Goran Dragic looked awful. Raul Nieto, Kyle Anderson, DeLon Wright, and Tyus Jones are seeming like the guys that they want to go after. They want to get a ball handler to back up Darius Garland to be able to run, as well as guys like Jeremy Lin and TJ Warren, especially if they move on from Karis LeVert. Let me hear your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of all this information? Check out the NBA show, link in the description. What do you guys think of the new microphone? Like and subscribe.